Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Safety and Risk Success podcast with me, Christian Harris. My guest today is Martin Hall of Morgan Sindall, which is a construction business, one of the largest construction businesses in the UK. And Martin and I have a great conversation, really framed around going from, as Martin describes it, SHE with a capital S, a smaller H and a smaller E, to trying to balance that out so that the SHE or she is on a level pegging. And so we delve into what Martin and his team have been doing on that, what's been happening in the construction industry as a whole over his 20 plus years involved in the sector, and dig into some great stuff that has been happening and some really interesting initiatives that Morgan Sindall have taken around carbon offsetting. For example, some of the work Martin's been involved in mental health in the construction industry as well. And then we have the obligatory little bit of COVID-related chat at the end as well, because Morgan Sindall was one of the very few companies to continue trading throughout the whole pandemic. And Martin tells us some of the ways that they achieve that through a spirit of openness and transparency, cooperation, and a real strong level of proactivity, I think it's fair to say. So I'm sure you'll get a lot from this one. I really enjoyed speaking to Martin. Some great lessons to be learned, whatever sector you're in, but particularly for people in construction. So let's get into it then and join my conversation with Martin Hall of Morgan Sindall. Cheers. Martin, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Welcome. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, it's good to have you on. Been looking forward to having this chat. Do you want to start by just giving a bit of background on yourself and the business? I mean, many people will have heard of Morgan Sindall, but perhaps some people won't have.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Martin Hall. I'm the Safety, Health and Environment Director for the construction division of Morgan Sindall Group. Been in the industry in safety for coming up for 21 years. And before that, I'm a mechanical engineer by trade. So I've been in the industry all my working life. The Morgan Sindall, as you said, most people are aware of us. We're an organisation, Morgan Sindall Group. We cover all assets of the business, from construction, infrastructure, fit out, house building, design, development. So we offer everything to all, and we work in the predominantly in the UK only, with a small division in Switzerland working in Pharmachem, which is a company called Baker Hicks. So, but all of our work is done in the UK, which makes us slightly different than some of our competition who work outside of the UK.
Yeah, and what would be some of the 2 or 3 kind of high-profile, buildings or sites or projects or something that you guys have done recently?
So certainly from a construction point, we've just completed a project in the middle of Liverpool called Liverpool Village, and that has got a project on it called The Spine, which is for a medical facility, hence the name, and that's a unique project. We've just finished some very top-end sports facilities in Hackney, which we're really proud of, and probably one of the biggest programs of work that we've done was in the Thames Valley Slough area, where we were part of a redevelopment program and built a wider range of things, from the new library to a hotel, ice rink. And also that brought in affordable housing as well. So it's a full redevelopment of the Slough area. So multiple projects. At any one time, we will have 100 to 120 schemes running at any one time, all over the country.
Yeah. I don't think you know this, I don't think I've mentioned it to you, but we were involved a little bit in the Slough thing. We did a deep clean of the centre, leisure centre. Just before it was handed over, because basically all the floors were in a bit of a state, and the project manager there I supported before with some deep cleaning and stuff, and he called us in and we did that. So
it's quite a nice pool there, isn't it? It's got a nice pool.
Yeah, it is nice. Yeah, it is nice. It's much big improvement on what they had before, because I think you did Langley as well, didn't you? Langley Leisure Centre, which is part of that, and and the facilities have improved significantly. So that's what it's all about, I suppose, isn't it? It's all about trying to renew and improve. And
well, that's what I think. I think that's what we do in construction. I think we leave a legacy. My bit is to make sure we're compliant during the build, and we keep people safe, healthy, and we don't damage the environment. But actually, I think my job is to leave a legacy for the future, whether it be student accommodation or hospital facility or education or special educational needs. That's the real exciting bit, is at the end of the day, we walk away, we do our bit, and then who knows what happens in that building. We could be educating the next Prime Minister, could be saving my life in an operation, or yours. So that's the exciting bit, is the legacy we leave, in my opinion. And the building bit is just a bit in the middle that we get paid to do.
Yeah, it's interesting. I interviewed an architect last year on the podcast as well, and he was kind of saying a similar thing. It's kind of the pride of producing these buildings which stand the test of time. But it's all about, from his perspective, it's all about kind of ensuring that you can you design it in such a way that it's usable and it's cleanable and you can keep it safe and all that kind of interesting stuff, which is obviously important for you guys as well.
It's interesting you use a word there, pride. We do quite a lot of engagement with our supply chain and the lads, essentially, and they some of them are all a bit down on the industry, and it's a job. And you actually say to them, but you guys are some of the proudest people known. And they'll go, no, I'm not. And they go, yeah, you are. Let's go for a drive in a car around the place where you've worked. And what's the first thing you say to your partner or your children? I worked in that. I worked in that. I worked in that. And if you weren't proud of what you did, you wouldn't say that. And I don't believe there are many people that work in this industry that don't say stuff like that when they're when they go into a building and go, oh, have you seen the state of the workmanship in here? Because they're proud of the way they do things. So pride is a real strong attribute of this industry. People don't recognise it though, because they don't see it as pride, but it is. Yeah,
it's interesting because one of the leisure companies that I've worked with over the years, they have their own in-house cleaning teams, and when they do the training for the cleaning staff, I think it's a similar thing where they kind of perhaps the staff themselves perceive what they do as maybe not being as important as other things. And so what they do quite cleverly is they kind of give these scenarios and say, okay, well, a member is coming to visit who might join the club, and there's a big pile of towels on the floor, or there's a big spillage on the floor, or whatever. And what does that mean for the business? And they sort of engineer it so that the cleaning staff see that actually what they do has huge value and holds everything together. And it's kind of similar to what you're saying there.
It's the concept of the president of America asking the guy who cleans the toilet at NASA, what do you do? And he says, I'm helping send someone to space. Without everybody playing their part, whether it be our most senior project manager through to the gate man, to the labourer, to the sparky, whoever, without all of them, the building doesn't get finished. Doesn't matter who you are, whether you're the last person in cleaning or you're the first person in banging a stake in the ground to set the building out. Without everybody doing their bit in the between, we don't have an industry. And that's why I'd like to think that when I talk to people, excuse me, when I talk to people on our projects, that you talk to them all the same. Different concept of conversation, but you treat them with the respect that you'd expect to be treated with.
And that's you'll have been in the same position as me, where you get to have the full range of people you're talking to. So you could be talking to a labourer, or you could be talking to a CEO, and you kind of get that full breadth of experience, which is one of the things I love about what I do, is getting to communicate with all sorts of different people.
Imagine it's few and far between in industry where you can have such a scope of conversation, where I can pick up the phone and speak to the MD, or potentially our chief operating officer, and then tomorrow I'll be on site talking to the gate man about his safety boots. So complete different levels of conversation.
But that's helpful, because I think that gives you the perspective that you need, because in your role, you have to be able to empathise with and engage with all of those people. Otherwise, you can't do what you set out to do, I suppose.
Yeah, you definitely need to stay grounded. You definitely need to remember what we do, because at the end of the day, I can sit in my office as the SHE director for a large organisation, and I can write lots of lovely policy and process, but it won't have any impact at site level unless you remember that what we do is put bricks on top of bricks, keep people safe. We dig holes, use tower cranes, all sorts of nasty kit that if we don't do it properly will hurt somebody. And that's the important thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
That we maintain that standard of safety. We want everyone to have a fruitful retirement, so they don't come to work to not get retirement because they're ill health. And obviously we want to protect the environment and minimise the usage of materials as much as possible.
Yeah, definitely. So over your career, Martin, you said you've been doing sort of safety stuff for over 20 years now. I mean, what have you seen in terms of trends or changes of, perhaps attitudes towards safety, or perhaps from the perspective of, different types of issue have become more or less important? We won't talk about COVID because we'll talk about COVID a bit later, but if you forget COVID for now.
I think that's a really interesting question. When I started in this industry, I was 21, 22, my first full-time job in safety. And I worked within a team, and every single one of them were near retirement, because it was a job you gave the guy that had a really successful, or the lady that had a really successful career in whatever it was, operational, and they were looking for something for the last couple of years in run up to retirement, and you gave them safety. So first of all, I really didn't fit into that mold, because I was young and took it on as a bit of a career. And I think at the same time, at that period, the organisation I worked for, which was a large contractor, I'm not naming them, a very large contractor actually, pretty much had a safety team because it said so in the management regulations that we had to have a safety team, and didn't really buy into the values of having a safety team. And over the years, I think that the significant difference from a leadership point of view is that the senior leadership within tier 1, tier 2, and quite possibly tier 3 contractors have really bought into the fact that safety is a critical aspect of our business, and that is then reflected in the age demographic of the team. And in fairness, I said male and female, it was only males that generally came into safety. I now have a team of safety professionals with a wide range of age and experience, and both male and female. So we've got that diversity within the team, and I think that they come into it now, and you now get graduates coming out of university who've chosen to do a career in safety, not as a third-hand career after they've gone, well, I've done my career in engineering, I've done my career as being a manager, I've got a few years left to retirement, I'll go and take the route of safety, because that's not how it works anymore. And I think that's made a major difference, because the leadership, the enforcement modelling has driven us to know that a good performing safety business is a business that makes money. And essentially that's what we're here to do as a business. Fundamentally, we're here to pay the bills and pay wages, aren't we, and make money for, in our instances, to support the shares. That's fundamentally what we do as a business.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something you'll probably be familiar with, the Alcoa case study, where I think that's in sort of construction related, isn't it, a little bit, manufacturing, and where they invested in safety so heavily, and they increased their profitability by 7 times or something like that.
Yes, absolutely.
It's a conversation that I try to have. Interestingly, a recent podcast, I was chatting to a guy from Burberry about risk, and we were saying how it's kind of trying to get away from that negative connotation of risk towards the positive. And I was saying, for me, it's a little bit frustrating sometimes, because in what I do, in the whole kind of slips and trips area, people sort of don't seem to cotton on to that positive side of it yet. You still get the most traction by, when something bad happens, and unfortunately.
The challenge there is the human mind. When nothing's gone wrong, they're quite happy to go, That's all right, nothing's gone wrong yet.
Yeah.
And then when something goes wrong, that's when people will look at that negative impact of an incident or an event and go, actually, we need to do something with this, instead of having essentially that foresight to plan it up front and go, well, let's not get to a situation where things go wrong. Let's deal with it at front end.
Yeah.
And that's always the challenge. We'll always face that challenge in safety, health and environment, because no matter how positive we move forward, there's always and always will be a cost.
Yeah.
And obviously there's a balance between risk and cost, and there's a balance between what do we want to do as a business. And obviously I work for a business that balance is very swayed towards safety first.
Yeah.
And actually driving our campaign of 100% safe. But there is always a commercial avenue to take, even if you're down to we'll choose the supply chain member that is probably going to be capable of doing it, but is probably slightly cheaper.
Yeah. Yeah.
That decision will always be made in all industry, no matter where we go.
Yeah, well, that's life, isn't it? But I do think construction is one of the sectors that actually, as you've said, has kind of embraced safety. So from a sort of culture perspective, I always feel like construction is one of the leading sectors for safety. Yeah,
and there's a number of reasons for that. One, we had to, because obviously the industry was killing too many people and taking too many people out for early retirement through ill health. And secondly, if we don't make it a better place, no one's going to join us. We have an issue with getting people to join the industry, to come and work in this industry. And I love this industry. It's been brilliant for me, and I've worked in it all my life, and I think it's a great thing. But to sell it to somebody sitting in school, to go, yeah, come and join the industry, and every now and then you're going to get wet and cold because it rains in the UK a lot, and it's quite windy, and you might have to deal with a little bit of mud, but majority of the time we now set up our projects and we set up our facilities as if you should be as if you're like working in Barclays Bank. It shouldn't be. Our cabins and our facilities should be to that level, and that should be the same facilities for the operatives, the welfare. And I know the industry hasn't progressed across the whole industry, but you look at any of our main competition, the big tier ones, they're all in the same place. So we're all setting out great standards. And if anything, sometimes I think we do it better than other industries, because we keep it immaculately clean, and it's muddy. Like most other places would maintain muddy, but we don't. We keep it clean. And obviously we've managed that facility and that structure. We're used to dealing with it, and it's high risk. It's a lot of high risk tasks going on. Yeah, absolutely. So going on that journey then, from, as you said, because the industry had to improve because there was a lot of stuff happening that shouldn't have been happening. I guess you've had to confront different types of safety and health risks over time. So like, what's that journey been like, and where are you now, do you think, on that kind of process? Yeah, I think if we probably took a snapshot 15 years ago, maybe 20 years ago, there was lots of we were still very much managing transactional risk, works at height, people falling through stuff, off of things, and now certainly in touch wood and not wanting to risk an incident, our business now, we're very good at managing those more traditional risks. And obviously and then we get enforcement models telling us that more people are getting struck by moving vehicles, so then we put some focus into that area. So we got some really good work in there, and I think one of the things that we've got better as an industry is in the world of safety, and I don't know about anything else. In the world of safety, we're really good at and open at sharing among our peers. So I can pick up the phone and talk to multiple other safety directors within the industry, and just go, what are you doing about that? And they'll go, I'll send it to you. Whereas you would never get that in the world of commercial or business development, for obvious reasons. Whereas in safety is not a privilege of Morgan Sindall or any of our competition. So if we've done some good stuff, we will happily share it and they go use it. So we literally just posted some stuff on YouTube this week that is open to anyone to use. It's got my name on it, as in the company name, but it's not private to us or our supply chain. It's for anyone to use, because if it helps somebody, then all the better. And I think now we're now moving into, obviously 10 years ago, big purge on health. And that's still so in the stereotypical world of safety, health and environment, a big S, a smaller H, and then a smaller E. And obviously my job is to try and make sure that they all grow to the same level within the business. So again, lots of work around health, but is a real challenge for us as a business, because we don't employ virtually anybody that actually works on the tools. So the majority of our projects are delivered with supply chain, so they're not our staff. So that can make a challenge for helping our supply chain deal with occupational health. And obviously one of the big challenges which has emerged over the last 5 to 7 years is mental health. And the criminal levels of suicide occurring in the construction industry. The 19 to 25-year-old male in the construction industry is more likely to take his own life than have a fatal accident at work. So there's been an awful lot of work. Again, as a group, we haven't sat down and done this on our own. We've sat with other large organisations and structured the Building Mental Health Charter. Which is something that I've been involved with since the very beginning, and linked in very heavily with Lighthouse and Bill Hill and Martin Coyd to sort of build these models, and we now have over 500 signatures on that charter, where organisations can sign up, get support, and the good thing is it's free. There's no fancy board. There's no let's have a fancy annual dinner. It's all about the mental health of our workforce, and actually trying to deliver training, trying to deliver awareness, and if we can remove that stack down, and the great work that Bill has done with his charity, especially in the recent times with COVID and the increased financial costs of not being able to go to work in some instances. The construction industry is really needed it, and there are loads of great charities in the UK, and we happen to go down the route of building mental health, but there are many others, and I certainly wouldn't want to say anything about them that's controversial, because anybody who helps anything on the world of mental health is a good thing, because it's a huge topic for us to deal with.
I interviewed Clive Johnson, who you probably came across
I know Clive.
in the past, because he was involved in Mates in Mind, which I think is a similar sort of concept. And
yes,
exactly, it's all about trying to help people, isn't it? Which is, as you said, about competitors sharing safety information. It's not a competitive area. It's an area where we should all be collaborating and trying to share what's working.
Absolutely, and the value of that with the collaboration is that we get to learn from their mistakes, and vice versa. We get to learn from their successes, and that can be really quite a useful thing. And also, it gives you a support network to be able to phone up and go, "I'm thinking of doing this. What do you think?" And they might go, "No, we did that. It didn't work." Or, "No, that's a really good idea. We'll try it as well." So that can be. It makes me feel a lot more positive when you're involved in those kind of conversations. And at the same time, those, certainly the building mental health, it's not aimed at big tier ones. Right. So the majority of our members, I call them members, but they're the people. The majority of people who've signed the charter are SMEs.
Okay.
And the SMEs don't have access most of the time to a safety team. So they don't have access to all that. They don't have the same level of ability to go and engage with mental health charities and the likes, whereas they can get that information from Martin Coyd and Bill, who do have regular access to those kind of people.
Yeah. So it's basically, is it sort of drawing together the advice and the best practices and kind of putting it together in such a way that the SMEs can take it and help their staff with, basically?
Essentially, it's a signatory charter which just commits to a few key things. One of our biggest wants out of BMH is that we don't fall into the trap that perhaps the industry did in the days of behavioural safety, where everybody had their own behavioural safety model, and none of us actually accepted anyone else's. So someone would come to my project with another behavioural safety program under their belt, and we would say, okay, that's great, but you got to do mine as well. And that, all that did was just put our supply chain to a position of going, this is ridiculous. I've done 4 or 5 of these, and they're all the same because it's psychology at the end of the day. So the key thing with building mental health is that we wanted to say, if you've been on a bronze BMH course, which is a 45-minute toolbox talk, and it's a lend-lease project because they're part of they're signed on there. We will accept that and go, oh, brilliant, was it good? Not, oh, you need to do a Morgan Sindall one. We'd go, oh, great, did you learn anything? Is there anything we should do here that you should think about? Or is there anything you want to share? And that's one of the big differences with the BMH, is that we didn't want to create this competitive, Morgan Sindall have done that, so that's got to be better than what Lend-Lease have done, or Kears and the likes of some of the obviously feel free to search up Building Mental Health. And you'll see our website and you'll see all the members, and it's quite easy to sign up if you've not signed up. And very supportive with Jenny working there.
Well, I'll put a link to that in the show notes as well, so that people can check that out, because that's obviously a very worthwhile thing for people to do. And could you just talk a little bit about the Lighthouse Charity as well, just to give us a bit more detail on that?
Yeah, so obviously not my expert topic, but Lighthouse Charity is a benevolent fund for the construction industry. Amazingly, lots of people don't know that the Lighthouse Charity exists in the industry. So you can search up the charity. They will come out and do some talks to your sites. You can put posters up. They've got a brand new, that's not a brand new now, but they've got a great poster campaign called Inside the Hard Hat, which is a series of posters that you can download for free of charge. And then stick up on your sites, which are about mental health. You can, but what's really interesting with the helpline, the helpline has got, I don't know how many staff are there. Bill would know this inside out, obviously. That you've got people at the end of the telephone line that are there to help people in the industry that are struggling, and that could be financial help as well. So there's and that financial help is, from what I understand, is if you fall into the criteria for that financial help, you don't ever have to pay it back. It's not a loan, it's financial help. I know since we started with building mental health and driving that subject matter, that Bill's call rate at the Lighthouse Charity has gone up. So clearly more people are talking, and obviously then you've got the Building Mental Health Lighthouse Charity app, which is a free app in the App Store, and that app has got a lot of advice around your own mental health and almost like resilience. And I must admit, I haven't looked at it for a while, but I know when I spoke to Bill last, there was a new release due, and the release was going to have also some stuff in there like financial advice. So I don't know if that's in there at the moment or yet, but I know that was certainly in Bill's intentions, was to build this app for the industry free of charge. You don't have to give your details, you can just log in and use it, and it gives you advice, and it also gives you the ability to connect directly to people like the Samaritans. So if you are somebody who's feeling particularly down and maybe thinking about self-harm, you can go onto this app and you can hit the app, and it'll, obviously because it's on the phone, it will take you straight through to someone to talk to. So, and I know that last time I think the app had been downloaded over 300,000 times. Okay,
that's great. So making a big impact. Something to
definitely.
You use that word pride again. Something to be very proud of.
Yeah, no, it's really good, and the work that the Lighthouse Charity do is brilliant. Just great work, and always ongoing though, non-stop.
Yeah, yeah. And moving on from that, then you talked about going from big S, smaller H, smaller E, to try to level them out. So what's going on in the environmental space then to try to kind of address that balance, or what are some of the things that you're doing within Morgan Sindall to
yeah, so I think the environment we've got almost two aspects of environment. So we've got compliance, which is pretty much the bit I'm responsible for, which is based around the more traditional compliance of environment, so oil pollution, spills, like protection of fauna and flora, and all that traditional environmental management and stewardship. And then obviously we couldn't possibly have this conversation without using the word carbon.
Yeah.
So obviously we have a strategy within our business. We have a number of strategies, but one of our key strategies is decarbonising communities, and the work we're doing about reducing carbon, a whole range and level, from embodied carbon into the buildings to carbon utilisation, from different fuel sources, through to where we buy our power and our electricity through to the stuff that we're doing at Blenheim Palace, where we're planting 470,000 trees.
Oh.
We just started, I'd say started just before Christmas, and within 10 years, Morgan Sindall Group will be able to say that we've got our own forest, and that forest is absorbing 22,000 tonnes of carbon a year, which essentially will carbon offset our carbon output as a business. But instead of just paying a company to carbon offset, we're doing it ourselves.
Actually do it, yeah. That's a great idea, yeah. Is that in the grounds of Blenheim Palace? Or?
Yes. Yeah, so we've got some. If you do a search onto, it's certainly been on Construction Inquirer, but if you do a search, there's the trees are being planted. I think they started late December, and those trees within 10 years will be mature enough to be absorbing carbon. Obviously, not all of them, because the trees grow at different rates. We'll have the Morgan Sindall Woods. We're going to have a training centre there, so we'll be able to use it, and obviously our staff will be able to use it as a place to go and visit. So as well as the carbon value, it will bring in a lot of value around mental health and resilience. So it's a great thing to be super proud of as a business, that we've done something a bit different than just paid a company to carbon offset for us.
Yeah, no, that is great. And I mean, I don't know the answer, but it strikes me that if you're taking that approach, you're probably leading the way in the industry on that.
It's always difficult to know. I think with stuff like that, we're quite quiet as a business at shouting from the rooftops. We tend to want to make sure that it's signed, sealed, delivered, crossed, dotted twice before we'll publicise things.
Yeah.
I don't know of any other organisation that's done something like that. We've also included, we've developed our own carbon tax, so we now tax our own business for carbon, and that carbon tax within our own business then gives us a funding pot, and then that funding pot is used to undertake projects that are carbon friendly.
Yeah.
So that could be an R&D. So there is a we haven't actually released what we're doing this year, because it's in almost like a Green Dragon event,
right,
where people had to propose some ideas, because each of the businesses have had their carbon tax taken from them, and then that carbon tax is used to do something good around carbon, whether it will be some R&D or a project that will benefit. So yeah, I'm not aware of other organisations doing stuff like that, but if I'm honest, I'm quite inward looking at things like that at times. So you just look at what we're doing and trying to support and focus that. So, but some great stuff through to real simple things like obviously trying to minimise our car mileage through to you can no longer, you can only get hybrid cars now or full electric, and actually having charging points on all our projects so that they're actually user friendly. So those are the sort of things that just make sense to do, because it's better for the staff, it's better for the environment, and it makes sure, and we want to make sure that our people have got the right stuff to do the job. Yeah.
So it sounds to me like you're certainly well on the way then to balancing the SH&E together.
Well, we're working on it. We're working on it, definitely. I'm always quite. It's fair to say I'm always quite like, safety always seems to be up there. The reason for that is when something goes wrong, safety, and someone gets hurt, it's immediate, isn't it? It's very difficult to reverse that. Health-wise, it's a longer, slower attrition rate. So if we see something that's not right, we've got a chance to start putting it right and making sure that people don't get long-term health impact. And environment, generally, most of the time, if it goes very wrong, you've got the ability to repair it. But we're very much obviously on the basis of that health is equally as important as safety, environment is equally as important, and then obviously you've got all the carbon and decarbonising and the Carbonica toolkit that we have, and then our circular twins for building construction sites and testing the carbon values of a building. So there's an awful lot of work going on in the business around that aspect of environment. So and just trying to keep up with it is a challenge, if I'm honest.
I'm sure. No, it sounds great though. It sounds like you guys are doing a really good job. I'm conscious of time, Martin, because we said we were going to wrap up in about a few minutes' time. But just quickly before we finish, I'd be interested to just get any stories or insights or thoughts on kind of the COVID journey, because obviously your sector's one of the few that sort of in many ways carried on. So kind of any particular obstacles or challenges or successes that you saw?
Okay. So probably, obviously, it's a long story, and we haven't got hours to run through it. But as a business, we didn't shut any of our projects. A couple of our projects closed in far-flung parts of the country simply because we just didn't have any labour, so that they weren't worth turning up and opening. Our approach was about making our projects COVID secure. So we were very much involved and in writing supporting information to keep our projects going. And then as soon as CLC guidelines came out, which we had some impact on, we were in a position where we were able to influence that. Probably one of our challenges was because many other principal contractors closed or sort of paused works for a number of weeks. We had a high influx of staff numbers. So we had a lot of subbies coming to us going, can we come and work for you? Now obviously, with the very early stages of COVID and our control measures, one of the control measures was 2 meters. And essentially we weren't able to, we did have a downturn in number of people, because if we had a project with say 400 people on it, we kept the site open, but we probably went down to 200 people. So consequently, we couldn't take all this extra influx of labour, which was a shame, because obviously those guys wanted to earn money. We managed that really well. And I think one of the strongest things that we did, which made it really powerful, is that we were really open in engagement with the supply chain. So we didn't, and I think that probably helped that they saw it. It wasn't a Morgan Sindall thing. They saw it as a thing that was obviously it was a pandemic, so it was across the whole of the UK, and they actually saw that we were trying to continue running the business safely. We didn't have any huge spikes and influxes of COVID. We monitored it. We had good records, but I think certainly, and I took on to reduce travel. Each of the SHE team took on a geographic area, including myself, and I took on a job that was about 6 miles from my house. And I think the supply chain were really thankful that almost every day we had a big outdoor meeting where we gathered everyone together in an outdoor space, and just said, right, this is what's happening today. This is what we understand of the current guidelines. Now, as well as that, obviously we had a more senior level. We had a business continuity meeting every day, where which would happen every night after Boris's announcement. So our call would be about 9 o'clock every night, and those calls would then run through to however long they needed to, where we would discuss what the output of today's announcement was, because in the first 2 weeks, every day was a major change. Now we did that, and I think that was beneficial, because that brought together all the senior managers, senior MDs, myself, HR, comms, and we were in a position that by the following day we were able to, instead of getting up in the morning and reading the government website, we were able to communicate almost the following morning. Okay, guys, today you've got to do this. Yeah. Today we've got to do this.
So being proactive.
Yeah, I think so. I think so, and also just keeping the supply chain engaged, and I have no fears. I had many very emotional people. We all probably went through a roller coaster of emotion as to whether this is the right thing to do. Was it the right thing to keep going? And I've come out of it the other side, because we didn't have any fatalities and we had a very low transmission rate, saying yes, it would probably be a different conversation if it had gone the other way, and then we were like, maybe that wasn't the right thing to do. But we followed the government guidelines. We were never told to close. Some of us we issued key worker letters because we were deemed as key workers. Other than in Scotland, Scotland was a slightly different scenario, and we only had 2 projects running in Scotland, and a number of our jobs were shut down for 12, 13 weeks, and then we had to go through different phases. But again, we engaged with the CLC equivalent in Scotland. One of our MD in Scotland was heavily involved in that, and getting the industry back up on its feet. So, something probably to look back on when my career comes to its close and go, what did I achieve? And go, well, we did manage to keep a business going through a pandemic. Not on my own, because our site teams were the ones who took all the brunt. Our site teams were the ones who went to work every day, dealt with people that were scared, angry, probably, and they had to deal with their partners at home, their wives. I had many people's partners. Give them sort of like, how come my husband has to go to work when everyone else has been sent home? And those are conversations that you had to have a very pragmatic answer for, because it's and obviously we did furlough a few people, not very many in our business, but overall in group we furloughed a number of people, but we were the first contractor to pay the furlough money back. Because we decided that the business looked at it and said we didn't need it. So we were the first contractor to pay the furlough money back to the government, which again is something to be proud of, because we didn't need to keep the money, so we gave it back.
Yeah, definitely. Great. Well, Martin, look, I really appreciate that. I really enjoyed hearing about that, and I think the audience will get a lot of value and inspiration from what you've talked about. So thanks very much for joining me. Other than the links to BMH and the Lighthouse Charity, is there anything else you wanted to sort of get out there in the world, or should I just maybe put your LinkedIn profile, and if anybody wants to? Thank you for
the chat, Christian. Really enjoyable, actually. I'd say obviously please go and have a look at the BMH website, because that's really important to me. Have a look at the Morgan Sindall website. There's a recruitment portal there. So if there's a role there and you think you're right, please put your CV in, because we do recruit very regularly across our business. We're in a good place at the moment as a business. And thank you for your time.
Yeah, pleasure. All right, thanks, Martin, and thank you everybody else listening in for joining us, and we'll see you again next week.